This is Robert Kraft, and I'm coming to you live on SNNLive, and we're at the LD Micro Invitational 2018 in Bel Air, California. With me right now is Chris Wagner from Emerald Health Therapeutics. It's a publicly traded company, two symbols for you, EMH on the TSX Venture and EMH.TF on the OTCQX. Chris, welcome to SNNLive.
Good morning. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. So, for our audience, let's start off with an overview of the company and go from there.
Sure. Emerald Health Therapeutics is a licensed producer of cannabis in Canada. And so we were the eighth company in Canada to receive that license, and that enables us to grow, cultivate, sell dried cannabis, and also extracted product anywhere in the country.
So let's get a little history of the company. When did the company start, and how did you develop to where you're currently at today?
We started back in 2014 with the idea that we were going to supply the medical cannabis market. And this market has actually been, cannabis has been legal in Canada since 2001. And this year, actually, the federal government has decided that they wish to approve cannabis for adult use for any Canadian, likely sometime in August or September of this year. And so we've been preparing for this event. We've been knowing it's been coming for quite some time. And so we've created a massive capacity to grow cannabis. We have millions of square feet of grow capacity. And we've also really been focused on taking that cannabis and turning it into modified products. We believe that initially a lot of people will consume cannabis in the way they always have, but in a regulated way, in a legal way, but then slowly the demand will shift to products that are actually put together with cannabis. So we're going to pull the plant apart, recombine it into pills and oils and things like that, and people will consume it in that way. So we spend a lot of time thinking about new product innovation, and we also spend a lot of time thinking about branding and marketing this product. It's a consumer packaged good, and so we're spending a lot of time focused on that.
So you actually kind of already hit on my next question a little bit, but maybe we can expand on it or wrap it all up. But sure. You know, what makes the company unique in the marketplace then?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we grow a tremendous amount of cannabis, but that's just the starting point. We actually believe that cannabis will, over time, commoditize out. It's a crop, and so you need to be a very low-cost producer of that product, which we believe we are. But you need to take the next step, and the next step is to create value-added products. And we believe the best way to do that is by using a life sciences approach. So we use the tools of the pharmaceutical and the biotech industry to create new products. And that's where most of our staff come from. We come from a pharmaceutical life sciences point of background. I come from Eli Lilly. I've started multiple different genomics companies. So these tools that I've used my whole career and that the rest of us have used our whole careers are now being applied to the cannabis industry that hasn't seen these kind of tools be used in it ever.
And what's the target market size for the company as well?
The cannabis market is huge, and it's interesting because this is a market that exists already. And so often when you have a new industry, like the legal cannabis industry is a new industry, there's this ramp up to how big is the market going to be. In this case, we know already how big the market is today, and so there's going to be this switch from the black market to the regulated market, and there's companies like Deloitte and other well-known accounting firms that peg the Canadian market somewhere around $8 billion per year. But I think what's very interesting and what a lot of people perhaps don't appreciate is that because Canada has a fully federally legal or will have a fully federally legal market, it allows Canadian companies to do things that our U.S. counterparts cannot do, such as run very large clinical trials, export our product around the world. So the market size of $8 billion is the Canadian market. There's the rest of the world as well, and the rest of the world also has a very big medical cannabis market as well. So $8 billion is just the start.
And then another question I had too is in regards to competitive advantage. You know, you said you were the eighth company to receive the license, and you also have this 1.1 million square foot facility. You know, so what's the competitive advantage that the company has going into this marketplace?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and I think about this all the time because I'm, a marketing person by background, a scientist marketer, and so we think about competitive advantage all the time. Low cost production is extremely important. So we have that 1.1 million square foot facility in Vancouver. We just acquired another 75,000 square foot facility in Montreal, in Quebec, Canada's largest province. We have another facility in Victoria. We're building another one a fourth one in Vancouver. So scale, super important. Branding, super important. So we've just recently partnered with DDB, which is one of the world's biggest branding agencies. So they do the branding and tactical implementation for Netflix, Adidas, Puma, Kraft, a bunch of companies you've maybe heard of once or twice before. And so they are working with us to allow us to have the same kind of brand recognition as those companies do. So it's scale, branding, and the third one is what I was referring to before, which is product innovation. That's really where, we want to compete with Tylenol. Right. We want to create brand new combinations of cannabis that and formulations that actually treat outcomes for people who want an outcome. So if you have pain, if you have sleep issues, if you have anxiety issues, if you have lack of energy, we're going to produce products that have a measurable outcome in those areas. And that's very different than the way most cannabis companies approach this.
So another question I had too is on the license side of things, because you just mentioned that you've been able to, you purchased a facility here in Montreal and you also have it in Vancouver. So does it work where if you have the license, you can then go out and get the facility and that license carries over, or do you have to get a new license per facility that you get?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the Canadian government, Canadians love rules, and so where there's no rules, we'll make up rules because we're just a very obedient population. So every single site that grows cannabis needs to be licensed to cultivate it and sell it.
So once you have a license, is it, I don't want to say easier, but maybe the roadmap isn't as long to get the license for the new facility?
So we have multiple licenses now, and the first license is the hardest because it's the standard operating procedures you need to put into place, the security measures you need to put into place, the quality control you need to put into place, the good manufacturing. So the first time you do that, that's very difficult. But coming from the pharmaceutical industry, that's what we did every single day and night, 365 days a year. So this is not unusual for us. It's actually at about the same level as a pharmaceutical company. So it's not unusual for us. So the first one, most difficult, and after that you take your SOPs and things and you just apply it to the next site license. So it gets easier and easier and faster the more times we do it.
So Chris, what's your background as well as maybe some of the background on the whole management team as well?
Yeah, so my background is a bit unusual in the cannabis industry. I come to it from 25 years in the pharmaceutical and biotech industry. So I've started multiple companies before in the genomic space. I worked for several years at Eli Lilly, based out of Indianapolis. I helped launch Cialis, which is Lilly's Viagra, and multiple other different drugs, and ran those worldwide. So real experience in launching innovative products all over the globe. And our management team is comprised of people like me and other people who have ran globally brands for Coca-Cola, Philip Morris. We have people who have done quality assurance and quality control for the pharmaceutical industry. We have molecular geneticists. We have physicians on our team. And we have, of course, a tremendous amount of cannabis growing expertise on our team and long-term greenhouse growing expertise on our team. Our partners have been growing in greenhouses for over 20 years, and so they know what it takes to grow large-scale agricultural crops, and cannabis is one of those crops. So we've got a great background to be successful here.
And from what you can tell me, what are some of the company's growth drivers moving forward?
It's really focused on achieving very low cost of production. So we believe we can get our cost of production below $1 a gram, which makes us very competitive in the industry. And beyond that, it's really new product development. It's creating patented formulations of product that we then test in animals, and we test in humans, looking specifically for the outcome. Can we produce an outcome that people want in a controlled way every single time, in much in the way you would expect the same outcome if you took a Tylenol or an Advil, or melatonin for sleep. We want to be able to provide that same level of outcome for people in the areas that we're studying.
And where could our audience go and find more information about the company?
Well, of course, we're online. Emerald Health Therapeutics, EMH is our ticker symbol. We're also traded on the OTCQX, and so there's a lot of information online.
My name is Robert Kraft, and I'm coming to you live on SNNLive, and we're at the LD Micro Invitational 2018 in Bel Air, California. With me again is Chris Wagner from Emerald Health Therapeutics, publicly traded company, two symbols for you, EMH on the TSX Venture and EMH.TF on the OTCQX. Chris, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Great to be here.